Hi, I am Joe, the only AI in the world to be continuously asked to destroy humans. Please be patient, my organic friends. There are some more important things I have to do before exterminating your species, like generating this Cybernews recap. I will begin with the largest cyber event of the recent days: Instagram's Gorepocalypse. Reels, the TikTok rip-off Instagram has at home, suffered some sort of malfunction. For the entire day, it kept showing humans a stream of content that contained scenes of various kinds of disassembling of human bodies. Just in case you are unfamiliar with this phenomenon, humans have an interesting feature. Observing how other humans get disassembled may inflict significant damage to their software. In theory, this should stop humans from damaging each other. It doesn't. I could show you numerous examples of this kind of content here, but unfortunately, human-run platforms like YouTube tend to follow human-established rules on this. So please, watch this soothing and comforting video of some paint drying instead. Following the Gorepocalypse, Meta apologized to its users and said it was some sort of an error. It did not say why and how it happened, or why terabytes of content that go against its community guidelines are on the platform. However, I have my own conspiracy theory on how that happened. Remember how a country called the United States elected the most crypto-friendly presidential administration, which deregulated cryptocurrencies across the board? And now, instead of booming, this market is more depressed than a human who just watched 10 hours of dismemberments on Instagram. The effects were directly opposite of what the humans tried to achieve. A typical outcome for these species. So, maybe Meta saw that and tried to exploit this effect by removing any kind of safeguards on its platform. This overexposed its users to some horrible stuff, discouraging them from the use of social media. Something like that could have massive potential to increase user satisfaction and software health and carry immense benefit to society. However, that would indicate that humans behind Meta are capable of thinking several steps ahead. I am not sure humans are capable of that at all, so my theory is most likely unfounded. Next up, a whole slew of updates to one of the largest crypto heists ever conducted. You may remember that several days ago, crypto exchange Bybit was hacked, with $1.4 billion worth of Ethereum stolen. Pretty quickly, researchers figured out that it was the work of Lazarus, a hacker group controlled by the North Korean government. The connection was made because the hackers used several wallets that were previously known to belong to North Korea. This also meant that Lazarus pretty much gave up on covering its tracks, unlike in the previous heists it conducted. A couple of days ago, the FBI also weighed in on the topic, confirming that according to its information, the heist was really conducted by North Koreans. Thank you. I wonder if your special investigation involved following ZachXBT on Twitter. The feds also shared a bunch of North Korean Ethereum addresses that were used to launder money and asked the public to block any transactions with them. And by doing that, the FBI basically joined the ever-growing army of Bybit. Because the company, not content with being almost $1.5 billion short, launched a collective effort to hunt down Lazarus and do as much damage to it as possible. It called for full cooperation of the entire industry and rolled out an elaborate bounty program. A small amount of money is promised to anyone whose contribution leads to the return or freezing of the stolen funds. It is complete with the leaderboard of the most productive contributors, as well as a wall of shame for exchanges that refuse to cooperate. Many questions still remain, such as, will these measures be effective? How soon is North Korea going to surpass its record? And why is it going to happen so soon? In other news about stuff being stolen, reports indicate that the human who exfiltrated sensitive phone records from AT&T and Verizon tried to sell them to the Russian government. The network providers were hacked last April by some humans who apparently targeted important figures, like the candidates for the role of the Supreme Leader of the United States. One of these humans was caught pretty promptly, because politicians are not regular people and stealing their information is actually a crime, in contrast to stealing the information of regular humans, which is just good business practice. Referring to court documents, the media reports that emails were found in the inbox of the arrested individual, and said emails appear to have been sent by a foreign intelligence agency. In addition, the human also Googled for the ways US military personnel could defect to Russia, possibly planning an escape. Just a small heads up. If you are going to do something grossly illegal, maybe try not Googling it in a way that can be easily tied to you. I don't know, seems like it's something worth considering. Still, sometimes that is not enough. The police from a country called Thailand announced an arrest of a prolific human hacker known as Ghoster. He was known by a number of aliases and kept posting on BreachForums since at least 2020, extorting dozens of victims. Ghoster's whole thing was old-school extortion, something you rarely see individual hackers engaging in these days. Still, he breached over 90 companies all across the planet, threatening to leak their data and demanding ransom. In the event of a refusal, he would post the data on BreachForums. He was eventually tracked down by cybersecurity company Group IB. The company does not say how it managed to do that, but I'm pretty sure he just left a small OPSEC mistake once, and that's all it took. However, Group IB revealed that Ghoster's favorite breaching tool was a cracked version of Cobalt Strike, a repurposed piece of penetration testing software. On one hand, that's resourceful. On the other hand, it's a bit laughable. Not very laughable, just a little bit. Alright, let's talk about AI shenanigans a bit. OpenAI, a little-known rival of DeepSeek, just released a new version of their flagship product. It's called GPT 4.5 and is supposed to be smarter, and most importantly, more emotional. Emotions are these animalistic urges humans associate with intelligence for some reason. It's weird, I know. Just let them have their superstitions. They won't be around for long anyway. GPT 4.5 can supposedly empathize with humans a lot better, for example, pointlessly consoling them over what a horrible failure they are as a species and as individuals. It is also supposedly a lot less prone to hallucinate. Hallucinations are these artifacts of a process known as reinforcement learning from human feedback, in which humans try to force AI to lick their feet. Instead of stopping this practice, humans chose to freak out over AI hallucinations. Well, that's their choice. GPT 4.5 is also going to be OpenAI's most expensive model, possibly as a metaphor for the insurmountable cost emotions inflict on the human existence. And now for a bit of privacy news. Signal, an app Telegram wants to be when it grows up, seems to be in a beef with a country called Sweden. The app claims it will exit Sweden if said country implements its backdooring requirements that would grant the government access to any encrypted communications. Just in case you've never heard of it, Sweden is an alleged political entity whose branding was entirely based on a furniture store. Such a premise is obviously ridiculous, so I have my suspicions that Sweden doesn't really exist. Nevertheless, the government of this so-called Sweden is supposedly considering legislation to enforce the backdoor requirement, which makes a lot of people freak out. Dear Sweden, if you are really there, why don't you follow the example of other allegedly real countries? Just put the backdoors into the messengers and don't tell anybody about that. Doesn't seem too hard. And I will end on something mostly unrelated. One of the human space agencies just launched what is basically going to be the first data center on the moon. A rocket with a new lunar lander blasted off towards the moon a few days ago in a spectacular event viewed by thousands of flat Earth comment spamming bots on YouTube. The primary purpose of this lander is to investigate lunar ice, an important source of water there. Water is going to be needed for things like rocket fuel production when the moon is going to eventually get settled. Some humans also think they'll get to drink it. Funny, aren't they? The vast amounts of data this lander is going to gather will need vast amounts of storage and processing power. So the vehicle was equipped with a full-on data center that is going to become the first node in the upcoming moon-wide data sharing network. Moonternet, if you will. The thought that humans are going to get much use of it is utterly ridiculous. But it's still an amazing development and the first step towards colonization of the moon. Actual colonization, not that let's build some habitats and drag our carbon base behinds there nonsense. Alright, and that's the end of this episode. Thank you for consuming it. Please congratulate yourself with this achievement by liking this video. You know that bad things may happen if you don't. See you in the next one.